On the day we were supposed to get our marriage certificate, my boyfriend made a public announcement declaring another woman as his one true love. I got cheated on. Out of pure anger, I married his archrival. He later confronted me. You married the man I hate the most just to get back at me? And you still claim you don't love me? His rival wrapped an arm around my waist and laughed coldly. She just came to her senses and ditched a pathetic mutt like you. You think you're worthy of love? Chapter 1. I waited outside the Civil Affairs Bureau for 4 hours. Victor still hadn't shown up. People had already come and gone in waves, and every couple walking out would glance at me first. Then they'd whisper among themselves as they walked away. I didn't blame them. When they went in, I was standing here. When they came out, I was still standing here. Anyone with half a brain could tell I'd been stood up. But things weren't nearly as simple as I thought. Right before the office closed, I called Victor one last time. Same response, sorry. The number you dialed is currently on another call. Then I opened WeChat. Just as I was about to call him there, I saw his new post. You are my sunshine. It was paired with a photo of a girl's soft, glowing silhouette. At the bottom left corner of the heavily filtered image was a subtle little phrase, true love. True love? Ha. If Victor weren't my fiancé, if today weren't our official registration day, I might have even liked the post and left a blessing in the comments. But the problem is, there are no ifs. He declared true love on the very day we were supposed to register our marriage, and did it proudly, in a public post. So, not only was I stood up, I was also cheated on. In just a few minutes, the comments started rolling in. Wishing you two everlasting happiness. Bro, you and your girl look perfect together. Congrats! She's so pretty. Didn't expect to get hit with a public display of affection in broad daylight. All blessings. No one thought anything was off, except for one comment that stood out. This isn't Elise. Bro, you forgot to switch to your alt account. Every other comment got deleted within minutes, except the one that exposed the truth. That one stayed. Not long after, Victor deleted the whole post. But it didn't matter. I had already taken a screenshot, and thanks to the page's location tag, I found out exactly where Victor was. Chapter 2. Inside a private booth at a bar, Victor was drinking with his usual crew of bros. There was only one girl in the booth, the same one from Victor's WeChat post. She was sitting right beside him. My arrival was like someone hitting pause on a loud party. The once lively room froze in an instant. Hey, sis-in-law. Someone greeted me awkwardly. I glanced at him. It was the same guy who commented forever and always under Victor's post. I smiled, with a touch of irony. So you two are together now? Everyone's face turned all kinds of awkward, red, pale, even a little green. Victor stood up from the group. He grabbed my hand. Elise, we were just playing truth or dare. I lost that post. You know what day it is today? I cut him off mid-excuse. His voice stopped. I raised an eyebrow. So he did know. I didn't say another word. That silence made Victor even more unsure of himself. After all, standing someone up on their marriage registration day? That'd drive anyone to their breaking point. But I didn't break down. I didn't even get angry. I just waited calmly for his explanation. Elise, I'm sorry. Things have been overwhelming at the company lately. I didn't want this to distract me right now. Victor's tone was full of guilt, his eyes trying their best to appear sincere. And of course, he ended it with a romantic flourish. But I still love you. TCH. What a joke. Expressionless. I pulled my hand from his grip. My eyes were cold, laced with sarcasm. We've been engaged for 2 years. Our wedding's next month. If you weren't ready to get married so soon, why didn't you say something earlier? You say you're busy. You say you love me. Yet on the day we're supposed to get married, you ditch me to drink with your friends and post about someone else being your true love? Victor, is this some kind of twisted joke to you? Victor's face stiffened. His gaze turned vaguely annoyed. Before I could even figure out what he had to be annoyed about, the girl he had publicly claimed as his true love stood up. Miss Liu, don't you get it? Mr. Song simply isn't ready to marry you. I've heard all about it. You're the one who insisted on being with him in the first place. He's a man with ambition and vision. Tying him down to marriage this early is just unfair. Don't you think? I almost laughed out loud. Oh wow, a White Lotus savior complex. Huh? I was stunned. Even more stunned that Victor didn't deny it. I tilted my head at the girl. You know him that well? She lifted her chin. No, we've only talked a few times. And this is the conclusion she jumped to? Meanwhile, I'd known Victor for a decade. I turned to him. You feel the same way? Victor looked at me and said, I'm sorry, Elise. All right then. I sighed lightly. In that case, let's not talk about getting married anymore. Talk to your parents. I'll talk to mine. The wedding's canceled. After I said that, Victor looked visibly relieved. He grabbed my hand again, this time with joy. Elise, you're so understanding. Don't worry. I'll explain everything to your father. Once I've made a name for myself, I'll give you the grand wedding you deserve. No need, I said calmly. Though, I should warn you, there may be some complications with the business agreements our families made when we got engaged. But it's fine. I'll handle it. He froze. What do you mean? What? Didn't you hear me? I said, the wedding is canceled. Permanently. We're done. Chapter 3. I walked away without hesitation. The cold wind outside hit me in the face. It sobered me up instantly. As I replayed the confrontation with Victor in my head, a wave of frustration washed over me. That was reckless. Victor and I weren't just a couple, we were a business alliance. This wasn't just about two people. It involved both of our families' companies. Breaking off the engagement in a fit of anger today, it would definitely affect future cooperation between our families. And with the board already wavering in their support for me lately, this couldn't have happened at a worse time. As my thoughts spiraled, one name came to mind. Vincent. I opened the screenshot from earlier, that one comment exposing the truth beneath Victor's post. It was from Vincent. If there was anyone who could replace Victor as my husband, it would be him. After all, when I was first choosing a fiancé, Vincent was also on my list of candidates. Back then, I was still in my senior year of college. My father had fallen ill and could no longer manage the company, so I stepped in. The truth is, I knew nothing about running a business. I had majored in fine arts. When I first joined the company, I hit wall after wall, but after 3 years of grinding, learning the ropes, and building connections, I finally gained some footing. To solidify the board's support, I chose a strategic engagement. Both Victor and Vincent were viable options. They came from powerful families with strong corporate backgrounds. Either union could strengthen the Liu family's position, but there was a key difference. Victor was raised in luxury, entitled, spoiled, with a touch of arrogance. Vincent, on the other hand, lost his father at 17. He dropped out of high school to shoulder the burden of the family business, while the rest of us were in college, hanging out, going to parties. Vincent was flying around the country, closing business deals. That's why there's a gap between him and the rest of us. Among our generation of rich heirs, we were all still junior this or young master that. Only Vincent Han was already Chairman Han in his own right. He's now a regular guest on the city's financial news channel. Back then, I chose Victor for 2 reasons. First, we went to high school and college together. I knew him well. Second, marrying him wouldn't restrict me. I could stay involved with the Liu company. As for Vincent, he was powerful. Yes, but the kind of power that was intimidating. He reminded me of the deep sea, dark, distant, and impossible to control. Cold, commanding, unreachable. In the 2 years since my engagement to Victor, Vincent had stolen quite a few of the Song family's deals. Victor hated him for it. Every time the 3 of us ran into each other at an event, Victor would either scoff or start posturing. Vincent? He'd completely ignore him. He was only a year older than us, but colder, calmer, an outlier in every room he walked into. Once, I happened to witness an exchange. Victor had just suffered a loss in a business game. Frustrated, he threw down the cards and dragged me out of the room. I hadn't even processed what was happening when I instinctively glanced back, and I saw Vincent watching me. His brows were furrowed, and in the depths of those dark eyes, something seemed to be churning, something unreadable. That look wasn't quite terrifying, but it sent a chill down my spine and made my heart race. Chapter 4. I found Vincent on WeChat. After a long struggle, I sent a simple message. Where are you? I expected silence, but to my surprise, he immediately sent me his location. The speed of his response made me wonder if he'd been waiting for this message all along. My temples throbbed. I felt like I was standing on the edge of a cliff, unsure whether to jump, but then I thought about everything that had happened tonight, everything I'd said. I clenched my jaw and called a cab to the address he sent. It turned out the location wasn't a hotel room like I'd feared. It was a billiards room. That realization let some of the tension in my chest ease. I mustered a smile and walked over to the pool area. Mr. Hahn. Vincent Hahn was playing pool. He was wearing a simple white shirt, sleeves rolled up. When he bent over to line up a shot, the muscles along his back flexed with fluid power. The sharp, graceful lines of his body hinted at a kind of restrained, predatory strength. Crack. He broke the rack with a clean, effortless shot. The room was empty except for us. He didn't look up, just kept playing. He was deliberately ignoring me. I swallowed hard and forced myself to keep talking. Mr. Hahn, I know you saw that post. I saw it too. I'm here tonight because I need your help. Silence. In the time it took me to speak, Vincent had already sunk several balls. I bit my lip and stepped forward, blocking his line of sight. Mr. Hahn, I know this is presumptuous, but if you're willing to marry me, I'll give it everything I've got. I mean it. Crack. This time, he missed. Vincent paused. For a long few seconds after I finished speaking, he stood there, motionless. Then he slowly straightened up, his eyes, dark, deep, unreadable, locked onto mine. That stare sent a chill down my spine. H. Hahn, I told you before, Victor's not right for you. But now that you've hit a wall, now that it hurts, now that your wedding's just a month away, you come running to me? What am I supposed to be? Some prop in your little lover's spat? His voice was low. Each word landed like a drumbeat in my chest. He was taller than me by a head, and when he looked down, with that heavy gaze and colder voice, it felt like the air itself had turned dense. At this point, I figured, screw it. Fine, I was blind. You're right. Mr. Hahn. I closed my eyes and said it out loud. The whole room fell silent. Vincent pressed his lips into a thin line. We were supposed to register our marriage today. But Victor stood me up, and then he made that post. I knew it was low, using our past feelings as leverage. But in business, there's no room for sentiment. Just like Vincent had dropped out of school and taken over his family business when he had no choice, I wouldn't let everything my father built collapse in my hands. Marrying Vincent made strategic sense. To me, the benefits outweighed the risks. But for Vincent, I didn't say more, just stood there, tense, waiting for his answer. I thought he'd tell me to leave, but instead, he handed me the cue stick. There are 3 balls left. Sink them all, and I'll say yes. What? For real? Vincent looked away. Try first, then we'll talk. He turned and walked over to the mini bar for a drink. Chapter 5. I gripped the cue tightly. I didn't know how to play pool. I could only imitate what Vincent had done just moments ago. Surprisingly, I sank the first ball on my very first try. I was stunned and instinctively looked over at Vincent. He clearly hadn't expected it either. The glass in his hand froze midair. 2 more, he said coolly before taking a sip of water. I was starting to get nervous. I missed on my first try with the second ball. Vincent didn't say anything, so I tried again, and again. Finally, it went in. Now there was only one left, the red 3 ball. It was far, too far. If I didn't use enough strength, it didn't even make contact. If I used too much, the cue ball flew off the table. I stood there, frozen. I tried again, and again, more than a dozen times. Each failed attempt only made me more anxious. My palms were slick with sweat. I glanced at Vincent. He showed no intention of cutting me any slack. And now, it was already past 1 a.m. I'll try one last time, I said. If it doesn't go in, I'll take that as fate. I took a deep breath and struck the ball with all the focus I had left. Missed. So be it. Disappointed. I put down the cue. I was just about to speak when Vincent appeared behind me out of nowhere. He took my hand and placed the cue back into it. I'll teach you. he said. Before I could react, Vincent gently but firmly positioned my body. Eyes on the ball, hands like this. His voice came from just above my head, but I could feel the warmth of his chest, and the deep rumble of his voice vibrating through me. My mind went blank. I let him guide me, like a puppet on strings. Crack, clink, the sound of the cue striking the ball, followed by 2 quiet clicks. 2. It went in? It actually went in? Wait, doesn't that mean? I turned my head toward Vincent. We were less than 5 centimeters apart. Too close. And just at that moment, he turned his gaze to meet mine. My heart skipped a beat, but he only looked at me for a second. Then he straightened up, pulling me up along with him. I opened my mouth to say something, but Vincent beat me to it. Tomorrow morning, 9 a.m., Civil Affairs Bureau. Be there. I was stunned again. Okay, I replied. Vincent drove me home. I barely slept. My mind kept replaying his voice. I'll teach you. I finally dozed off for a bit as dawn broke. My biological clock usually wakes me at 7:30, but at 7 o'clock, I got a message from Vincent. Bring your ID and household registration book. Oh right, I won. Today I was going to register my marriage with Vincent. I got ready, applied some light makeup to cover up my sleepless night. At 8:30, I stepped out of my building and heard a soft beep. A familiar car pulled up. The window rolled down, revealing Vincent's face. Get in. At the Civil Affairs Bureau. I was worried Vincent would look too cold and stern in the marriage photo, but the first shot turned out great. All done. That's it? You two look perfect together. Congratulations on your marriage. I only snapped out of it when I held the red stamped certificate in my hands. Wait, was Vincent smiling? It was faint, but I could see it. In the photo, he actually looked warm, approachable, even. So why in real life does he always look like his wife just ran away? Chapter 6. While I was still staring blankly at the freshly issued marriage certificate, Vincent walked over. Where are you headed? I'll drive you. It's fine. You probably have things to do. I have a few errands to run. I told him. He didn't press, just said calmly, if anything comes up, call me. I nodded. After parting ways with Vincent, I went back to the Liu household. My father was practicing calligraphy. I approached him carefully, heart pounding. The newly printed marriage certificate was still in my bag, burning a hole through my thoughts. Elise, you're back? Come look at the wedding invites I wrote for you too. Not bad, right? He put down his brush as soon as he saw me. Ever since he got sick, my father had mostly stayed out of company affairs. He wasn't the sole founder, after all, but stepping back and pushing me forward had been a huge decision and an even greater risk. I've been pushing myself so hard all these years just to live up to that trust. I even agreed to a strategic engagement with the Song family to elevate our company further. Now, not only did I break things off with Victor without warning, I turned around and married Vincent, and my father still had no idea. I didn't know how he'd react. Would he be so shocked it triggered a heart episode? I stood there for a long time, not saying anything. He looked up at me, puzzled. What's wrong? I hesitated. Then, channeling the same reckless energy that had gotten me through last night, I registered my marriage. My dad chuckled. Yeah, I know. Weren't you supposed to do that yesterday? What? Victor didn't come home with you? No. It wasn't Victor. It was Vincent. What? His eyes went wide. What did you just say? I pulled the marriage certificate from my bag and set it down in front of him. He picked it up. His breathing caught. His hands trembled slightly. Dad, I called out, worried, but he'd seen too much in life to be completely shaken. Still, calm wouldn't be the word I'd use. He sat down heavily and stared at the photo and names on the red booklet, again and again. Finally, his eyes shifted back to me. What happened? Unexpectedly, there was no anger in his voice. My eyes welled up, and I told him everything that had happened yesterday. He stayed silent for a long time. Then he tore up the wedding invitations he had just written. This marriage falling through might be for the best. I'll call the Song family right away and cancel everything. After his anger passed, he started to worry. But marrying Vincent, wasn't that a bit impulsive? If it's not too late, maybe just get a divorce? You don't have to get married just for the company. It's not all on your shoulders. Divorce? Vincent's voice from last night echoed in my head. I had just gotten the certificate, now I was supposed to walk back and say I wanted out. That really would make him nothing more than a tool in my eyes. No, Dad. Vincent's actually really great. I tried to defend him. Then I realized I barely knew him at all. Under my father's curious, hopeful gaze, I flat out lied. He's actually had a crush on me for years. That settled it. My dad relaxed, reassured, though he insisted on meeting Vincent sometime soon, afraid I'd blow my cover. I pushed the meeting off to another day. My father acted quickly. As soon as I left, he called the Song family to cancel the engagement. The next day, I got a call from Victor. Elise, are you serious right now? His angry voice came crackling through the phone. What do you mean? I said calmly. You're really canceling the wedding? I mean, it's not like I wasn't going to marry you. Do you have to make such a big deal out of this? He was practically shouting, like I had wronged him. I almost laughed. Victor, why are you so upset? Weren't you the one who didn't want to get married? I thought this outcome was exactly what you wanted. Oh, I see what this is about. You heard about me vying for the Song family's inheritance, didn't you? Canceling the wedding now. It's a bad look for me. I said it casually, deliberately. Victor flew into a rage on the other end. What the hell are you talking about? You think the Liu family is so important? You think you, Elise Liu, matter that much? That inheritance is mine. I don't need to fight for it. Good to know. I replied lightly. Because rumor has it, your half-brother's pretty impressive. His breathing grew ragged. I must have hit a nerve. He hung up furiously, but not before throwing out one last threat. Just wait. Even now, Victor still thought his words carried weight. In our circle, most of us had already entered the family business, preparing for eventual succession. But when illegitimate children enter the picture, that peaceful inheritance path gets a little messy. Unfortunately for Victor, he was one of those cases. For over 20 years, he lived carefree, reckless, believing himself the one and only heir to the Song family. Until 2 years ago, his father brought back a son, born to a former lover before the Song family got rich. Not only was this half-brother older by a few months, he was also miles more competent than Victor. Victor's mother realized the threat and agreed to an engagement with me, hoping to cement Victor's place through an alliance with the Liu family. In a way, Victor and I had used each other. But now, with the Liu Song engagement terminated, it wouldn't just affect me. It'd hit Victor even harder. Chapter 7. Victor must have really been pissed. He had just been promoted to manager at his company when he suddenly announced they would be canceling all cooperation with the Liu family. Word of it quickly reached our side. The board held an emergency meeting first thing in the morning just to scold me. Under the pressure of their collective fury, I had no choice but to put on my usual confident front. I promised that any lost partnerships would be made up for elsewhere. That only made the board members fume even more. They reluctantly gave me a 1-month deadline. But truthfully, I didn't need a whole month, because right after that, I got a call from the business department of Vincent's company. Once they learned about the Liu Song partnership falling apart, they immediately reached out and scheduled a meeting, and brought with them several high-margin project proposals. Not only did they fully make up for the loss caused by the Song family's withdrawal, they even projected profits that would exceed our targets for the next quarter. Partnering with the Han family was, of course, a big win. But there was a catch. Vincent and Victor were well-known rivals. Because of our previous engagement to the Song family, the Han group had always intentionally avoided working with us. Now, with the Han family suddenly offering a partnership, everyone at the table was full of questions. Our team is entering this cooperation with sincere intentions, one of the Han reps said before leaving, and President Han has a lot of confidence in Miss Liu's capabilities. With that, it became clear to everyone. This deal had something to do with me. I may have married Vincent with some ulterior motives, but I truly never intended to emotionally blackmail him into doing anything for me. Besides, it's not like the Liu family could offer much to help the Han group anyway. Still, I hesitated for a while before finally dialing Vincent's number. I tried to be as straightforward as possible. I just wanted to say, I appreciate the cooperation offer, but I didn't want it to seem like I expected anything from you just because of our relationship. His response was just like him, cold, formal. The partnership was based on the market evaluation from our strategy team. Your company's capabilities are recognized across the industry. I merely made a recommendation. All the words I had prepared got stuck in my throat. I see. Well, that was that. Once this partnership was over and the crisis passed, I'd find a way to return the favor, perhaps offer better terms next time. A clean, professional exchange. I was about to hang up when Vincent stopped me. Elise. Yeah? When you have time, I need to talk to you about our marriage. There are a few things we should discuss. Perfect. I'd been thinking the same. Tomorrow at noon? Sounds good. The next day, I left work 10 minutes early. I arrived at the cafe we agreed on, thinking I'd be early, but Vincent was already there. Mr. Hahn, I greeted instinctively. He glanced at me, lips pressed into a thin line. We're married now. No need to be so formal, right? Vincent. He gave a quiet hum of acknowledgement. Then he opened the folder in front of him and pushed it across the table. Here, I need your signature. I looked down. Equity transfer agreement. Post-nuptial property division agreement. What? I looked up at him, confused. Our marriage happened rather quickly. He said calmly, we didn't have time to discuss a dowry. I'm voluntarily transferring 5% of my shares to you. Also, if we divorce during the course of this marriage due to my fault, all post-marital assets will belong to you. I'll walk away with nothing. After a pause, he added, this is my way of showing sincerity. Chapter 8. I was shocked. Even while saying something like that, Vincent still looked as serious as if he were discussing a business deal. He handed me a pen. If there's no problem, go ahead and sign. No. I immediately waved my hand and refused. Vincent looked at me with deep, unreadable eyes. Is there a problem? There is. No. I mean, that's not the problem. I was so flustered I could barely string words together. Come on. Marrying me was already a stretch for Vincent. How could I dare to accept such a sincere gesture from him? President Hahn, no. Vincent, I can't accept these things. I tried to explain to Vincent. The shock was too much, and I stumbled over my words, but I managed to get my point across. The moment I made myself clear, I felt a cold sweat break out down my back. After all, I've negotiated quite a few deals myself, but when it comes to Vincent, I always feel like I'm at a disadvantage. Seriously, Vincent, he's been a businessman for over a decade, and businessmen value profit above all. Marrying me wasn't a good deal to begin with, and yet he still presented two agreements that clearly weren't in his favor. After I finished speaking, Vincent didn't look much better. If anything, he looked even more grim. Elise, this marriage isn't a business transaction to me. I froze again, a little shaken, but I didn't dare ask more. It just didn't make sense. When Vincent saw that I wouldn't sign, we both ended up in a stalemate. Eventually, I compromised. If that's the case, I'll show my sincerity too. I currently hold 5% of Lu Corporation's shares. I'll give you half of them. And if the marriage breaks down due to my fault, I'll willingly give up all assets acquired after marriage and walk away with nothing. All right. If neither side is at fault, then divorce won't be an option. Me, okay. Vincent acted fast. His office was right next door. He had someone reprint the agreements. In the end, we completed this ridiculous signing ceremony in a cafe. After signing, Vincent asked if I had anything to do that afternoon. I shook my head. Then let me take you somewhere. Okay. I followed along in a daze. It wasn't until we arrived that I realized Vincent had brought me to a villa neighborhood. This house is where I live. I'm making it our marital home. He entered the passcode and then told me what it was. The numbers seemed familiar. It was my birthday. Vincent calmly explained. This house counts as part of our post-marriage assets, so I changed the code to your birthday. Oh, sounded reasonable. He led me inside. The house was huge, with plenty of rooms. Everything was well equipped. Vincent showed me around, room by room. When we got to the second floor, there was a room next to the master bedroom. I thought it was a study, But Vincent said, "This is my treasure room." Treasure room? Vincent actually had a hobby like that? I was a little surprised. Vincent asked, "Do you want to take a look?" At the time, I didn't notice the subtle anticipation in his eyes. I just thought, since it's a treasure room, there must be some really valuable stuff in there. And since we just got married, we weren't that close yet. In my mind, we should still respect each other's privacy. So I declined. "No, maybe next time." Vincent had already placed his hand on the doorknob, but when he heard me, he pulled it back. "All right." His voice was low and deep. I turned and walked toward another part of the house. On the way downstairs, I noticed the piano placed in the middle of the living room. "Is that yours?" "Yeah. You know how to play the piano?" I was even more surprised. Vincent lowered his gaze. "I learned in high school. I also learned a little in high school, but I have no talent for music. I'm better at drawing." Speaking of high school, I realized it had been 10 years since then. Chapter 9. Vincent gave me a full tour of the house. By then, it was already 3 p.m. "A housekeeper comes in to clean every day," Vincent said. "Good." I nodded. Vincent's gaze lingered on me. I noticed he seemed like he wanted to say something, but hesitated. "What is it?" "You could move in." I froze like a statue. Straightforward. Way too straightforward. I stood there, completely stunned. Then a rush of heat came from nowhere and spread all over my cheeks. Vincent didn't think he was being too bold at all. And honestly, it wasn't really that bold. We were already legally married. Living together made sense. And just like that, I moved into Vincent's house. We began living together. But in reality, nothing much happened between us. Because I was busy, and Vincent was even busier. Sometimes when he got home, he still had to go to the study to work. And ever since the partnership with the Song family was terminated, in order to quickly adapt to the new collaboration with the Han Corporation, I occasionally had to work from home too. President Han was generous and directly gave me half the work area. "This is our first time working together. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me," Vincent said. When he worked, he wore a pair of blue light glasses. They rested on the bridge of his nose. The lenses reflected the glow of the computer screen, even though he was saying something to lighten the mood. His expression remained distant and cold, especially the way he looked at you, serious and formal, just like a strict teacher in high school. I nodded like a timid little quail. Truth be told, I didn't really dare to ask anything. Later on, some issues arose during the collaboration due to the adjustment phase between both sides. I vented about it casually to Vincent when I got home. To my surprise, the next day his company's team was unusually cooperative. Caught in the act, the classic cold on the outside, warm on the inside domineering CEO. Eventually, the collaboration started going smoothly. I also got out of the routine of working overtime in disguise after hours. The teams from both sides became increasingly in sync, so we arranged a dinner gathering after work. "Little Lou, why don't you join us?" It was hard to refuse, so I tagged along. Suddenly, I got a call from Vincent. He asked if I was free tonight. Some friends from his circle were having dinner. He wanted to bring me along. I asked where, and Vincent sent me the location. I told him, "I'm also at a dinner right now. I'll come over after we're done, okay?" "All right." Halfway through our dinner, I told everyone I needed to go meet a previous client and then left. I messaged Vincent, then followed the directions he sent to find the private room. As soon as the server opened the door for me, the conversations inside came to an abrupt halt. They were stunned. So was I. "Elise, what are you doing here?" The one speaking was none other than Victor. I hadn't expected him to be here too. Didn't Vincent always dislike Victor? He usually avoided any event Victor attended, although I had zero interest in talking to Victor. I couldn't help but notice the girl next to him. Noticing my gaze, Victor immediately put his arm around her shoulders. "Let me introduce you, this is my girlfriend." That girl was no stranger to me. She was the same one from that post Victor made. I had gone to confront her afterward, and she'd put on that whole self-righteous act. The fact that these two ended up together didn't surprise me at all. I calmly looked away, scanning the room for Vincent. Strangely, I didn't see him. Was he not in this room? But the room name was correct? I was confused. Victor spoke up again. You didn't come here just for me, did you? Since you're here, why not sit down and join us? He even had the server add a chair next to him. I didn't move, thinking if Vincent wasn't here, I might as well leave. But then Victor, God knows what got into him, suddenly said, "Why leave so soon? We finally ran into each other. You know everyone here anyway. I mean, I can't call you sister-in-law now, but little Lou has a nice ring to it, right? So bossy." Huh? Chapter 10. I did, in fact, know everyone at the table. Some of them were even Victor's close buddies. They used to call me sister-in-law all the time. Now, with Victor saying what he just said, it was clearly a public mockery, right in front of his friends. I shot a cold glance at Victor. All I felt was that his actions were vile and childish. I couldn't be bothered to respond, seeing that I gave him absolutely no face. Victor got angry. "Elise, don't you walk away from me." He slammed the table and stood up, furious and aggressive. That really startled me. Just as I turned around, I got a scare, and then looked up to see the door being pushed open. Maybe I looked a little pale, because the man who walked in frowned as his gaze landed on me. It was Vincent. "Where did you go?" I asked. Even I didn't realize it at the moment I saw Vincent. I calmed down, even though my heart was still pounding wildly. "You said you were almost here." He didn't finish the sentence, but I got it. He came to pick me up but didn't find me there. Still, it didn't matter now, because when he came back, he saw me, and he saw me looking so shaken. What happened? Nothing. I just got startled a bit. In this private room, the only person who could have startled me was Victor. He was the only one who stood up, and he looked like he was ready to eat someone alive. Vincent's eyes turned cold. His gaze shot toward Victor like a knife. Everyone in the room looked stunned. No one said a word. They looked between Vincent and me, completely confused by our interaction. Especially Victor. On top of that, his expression was full of suspicion and alertness, until Vincent reached out and took my hand, and led me to the head seat at the table. "Let me introduce you all. This is my wife, Elise." The room went dead silent the moment Vincent said that. Everyone held their breath. Their eyes widened in unison. It wasn't my first time being the center of attention, but this time, my palms actually started sweating from the nerves. Vincent looked around the room. His gaze finally swept past Victor. "You're all my brothers. Just call her sister-in-law." Everyone, including me, was speechless in that awkward silence. They mentally prepared themselves, and then, one by one, they raised their glasses. "Sister-in-law, sister-in-law. Oh my God, so you really are our sister-in-law. No wonder Brother Han was so generous treating us tonight. It's to introduce you." A few of them were extra loud and enthusiastic about it. Seeing that Vincent didn't stop them, I figured they were probably the ones closest to him, so I smiled too. If anyone was in a bad mood during this whole dinner, it was definitely Victor. From the moment Vincent announced my identity, his face looked like someone had painted it with gray cement, pale as a ghost. He even completely forgot about the girlfriend sitting next to him. It wasn't until everyone was toasting me and chatting that he seemed to snap out of it. Vincent blocked the drinks for me. With just one sentence, "She doesn't like drinking." He made everyone stop. Doesn't like drinking doesn't mean can't drink. Back when I was dealing with clients and business deals, drinking was practically unavoidable. Even if I didn't want to, I had to force myself to. I never imagined that one day I'd actually get to experience what it feels like to be the client who doesn't have to drink when being toasted. All thanks to Vincent. Chapter 11. Vincent was chatting with the people around him. A bunch of them started teasing him, saying he wasn't being a true brother, getting married behind everyone's back. They said he had to be punished with drinks. Vincent accepted them all without hesitation. I got a little worried and tugged at his sleeve. "Don't worry, I know my limits." That reassured me. I sipped my juice slowly. From time to time, I glanced at Vincent. He still looked just as cool and aloof, but right now, his brows were relaxed, his gaze calm and clear. and there even seemed to be a faint smile on his face. It gave him an inexplicable air of ease and brightness. Vincent could really hold his liquor, so I probably didn't need to worry about our wedding banquet. Huh? That thought crossed my mind, and then I immediately jolted in embarrassment. No one could possibly know what just went through my head, but my face still flushed in an instant. I shook off that fleeting fantasy. Suddenly, I felt a hostile gaze fixed on me. I looked up, and it was Victor. Ugh, bad luck. I looked away. After the dinner ended, everyone said their goodbyes and left. Vincent stood beside me. Once the room cleared out, he pressed his fingers against his temples. You okay? I asked. Vincent hummed a quiet mem. I'll go get the car, I said. Vincent stopped me. I'll come with you. Fine by me. Vincent walked next to me, his steps steady, looking no different from usual, until we turned a corner and ran into Victor. He hadn't left yet? I was a little surprised, but then again, what did it have to do with me? I tugged at Vincent and was about to keep walking, but to my surprise, Vincent stopped. I turned to look. His expression hadn't changed much, but his eyes had darkened. Victor didn't look at him. Instead, he was glaring at me, furious. Elise, you're actually with him? That accusatory tone was laughable. I was just about to reply when Vincent suddenly pulled me into his arms. We're married. If anything, that made Victor's face look even worse. When did you two get together? Vincent, none of your business. Vincent spoke up for me again and again. Victor, not getting any response from me, grew even more agitated. So you've been hooking up with him for a while now, haven't you? He pointed at Vincent, eyes blazing, and shouted at me. Wasn't he the one you hated most? And you married him just to get back at me? I was speechless. I felt Vincent's arm around me stiffen slightly. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw his lips press into a line, like they drooped a bit. No, don't let him misunderstand. I glared at Victor. He's not the person I hate the most. Victor's face went pale again. Vincent didn't say anything, but he did raise his chin just a little. His hand settled on my waist. Clearly, he had no interest in engaging with Victor any longer. As we walked past him, Victor finally snapped out of whatever daze he was in. He sneered coldly. Elise, you can fool everyone else, but not me. My heart skipped a beat. Sure enough, Victor turned to face us, but his gaze was locked on Vincent. She only married you to piss me off. Do you really think she likes you? If anything, this proves that the one she really loves is me. My temples started throbbing. Where the hell did Victor get this kind of delusional confidence? Then again, when you think about it, the logic kind of tracked. I frowned. Would Vincent misunderstand? Turns out, I was overthinking it. Vincent laughed, the sound full of sarcasm. He held me tighter around the waist and tilted his head slightly to look at Victor. You're just a stray dog my wife finally realized wasn't worth her time. And you think you're someone? If you're mentally ill, go get it treated. Don't act like your looks are anything special. Vincent went in hard, and that's when I realized something was off. So I looked into his eyes, bright and calm. No problem there. Then I looked at his posture, steady as a rock, still fine. Vincent, are you? I started. Wifey, let's go. Vincent didn't even let me finish. He just took me with him and left. Behind us, Victor was fuming and practically gasping in rage. Chapter 12. I didn't have time to bother with him, because I realized Vincent seemed to be drunk. He usually wasn't this talkative. When we got home, Vincent flopped right onto the couch. I poked him. Vincent, are you drunk? No. Then do you know who I am? Vincent opened his eyes and smiled. My wife. All right. That settles it. Definitely drunk. I sighed. A sudden thought flashed through my mind. I crouched down and asked, Vincent, do you like me? Yeah. I stared at him blankly. Guessing is one thing. Having it confirmed is something else entirely. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my suddenly out-of-control heartbeat. When did you start liking me? What I got in response was silence. I frowned and poked him again. No reaction from Vincent. Just as I thought he'd fallen asleep, he suddenly sat up. Scared me half to death. Shower. The bathroom's over there. I pointed in a direction, but Vincent didn't move. Instead, he looked at me. Let's shower together. Huh? Chapter 13. In the end. Of course, we didn't shower together, and when Vincent woke up the next morning, he had already forgotten everything he said and did the night before. I'm heading to work, Vincent said, still carrying that cool, distant vibe that made people instinctively keep their distance. I said okay, then thought for a second and called out to him. Hey, Vincent, my dad wants to meet you. Vincent paused. Then I saw him blink really fast. When? This weekend? Are you free? Okay. He nodded, then left. Back in the day, during business meetings, Vincent had met my dad before, so I figured he wouldn't be nervous. But I didn't expect that come the weekend. Vincent dressed even more formally than he did for work. Not only that, the trunk and backseat of the car were packed to the brim with gifts. You drive. I need to go through a few contracts. Vincent said. That busy? Should we go another day then? I asked tentatively. No need. I can do it in the car. Vincent refused. While driving, I made sure to keep the ride as smooth as possible, so he wouldn't be disturbed while reading. But after a while, I noticed something off. Vincent hadn't turned a single page in a long time, and he had crumpled the edge of the document from gripping it too tightly. Was he nervous? I was stunned and a little touched, even amused. Vincent. I called his name. He turned to look at me. My dad's a really nice person. He loves me a lot, so he'll definitely like whoever I bring home. I chatted with Vincent, trying to ease his nerves. Vincent was quiet for a moment, then asked me, Did you ever bring Victor home before? Me? No. That was true, I never had. Vincent gave a soft mem. I felt like he relaxed a bit after that. Suddenly, a black motorcycle sped out from the side. It headed straight toward the driver's side. Elise. Vincent was the first to react. He lunged from the passenger seat and grabbed my steering wheel. Bang! The car swerved and narrowly avoided the direct hit from the motorcycle, but slammed into the roadside guardrail. The impact was intense. All I could feel was a searing pain in my chest. Then I turned to see Vincent. Blood was running down from his forehead, and his brows were tightly furrowed. Chapter 14. Thanks to Vincent's quick reflexes, and the fact that I had been driving slowly the whole time, the impact with the guardrail wasn't too strong. I went to get a CT scan and was fine. Vincent, however, was in worse shape. He fractured a bone in his hand and had a mild concussion. When I returned to the hospital room with his medication, I happened to run into a traffic officer on his way out. The suspect has already been detained. Don't worry. There'll be results soon. Vincent gave a soft mem. He still had gauze on his forehead. He'd lost some blood, and his face looked a bit pale. When he saw me standing at the door, he reached out a hand. Come here. I walked over. His eyes scanned me from head to toe. You're all right? I'm fine. I nodded. That's good. I'll handle the discharge later. We'll have the driver take us to your dad's place. Even now, Vincent still hadn't forgotten about meeting my dad. I already told him we're not going today. We'll go after you recover. Vincent seemed a little worried. I assured him again that I was fine and that my dad would understand. Only then did he relax. Vincent was discharged after just 2 days. Since he couldn't work with an injury, I simply took leave to take care of him. With nothing much to do, it got a bit boring. To pass the time, I asked Vincent to be my model. I started drawing in high school and kept going until I graduated from college. I haven't picked up a pencil in years though. No idea if I'm rusty now. After spending so much time together, Vincent and I started talking more. I'd occasionally chat with him about things from college. Then I suddenly remembered that Vincent didn't get to attend university because of his family situation. Afraid it might bother him, I shifted the topic to high school memories. Vincent was posing as a model, so he couldn't move. Now and then, he'd respond with a few words. I was actually pretty good at drawing. During charity events, my paintings would always be auctioned off for the highest prices. Am I amazing or what? I peeked out from behind the drawing board to look at him. Very amazing. Vincent nodded, giving me a genuine compliment. I grinned proudly. but now I don't have time. I run the company, so drawing is more of a hobby these days. I put the pencil down. All right, come take a look. Vincent stood up and walked over. He stared at my drawing, a little dazed. I didn't notice and said offhandedly, "It's not that great. You look way better in person." "No, it's beautiful," Vincent said. "Elise, this is the first time you've ever drawn me." I was a bit surprised. "You like it? If you do, I can draw you more often." Vincent nodded. A month later, Vincent's hand had mostly healed. I went with him to the hospital to have the cast removed, and we picked up the car while we were at it. During that time, I heard that Victor had been taken in for questioning. I was confused, but since it had nothing to do with me, I didn't ask. It wasn't until later that I found out. Victor had something to do with the car crash. He was the one who hired someone to ram into our car. Unfortunately, there wasn't enough evidence, so nothing major happened to him. I was furious when I found out. Vincent had known earlier than me and had already tried to comfort me, telling me not to overthink it. He said he'd take care of it. Soon after Victor's release, we heard he was in a fierce internal battle with his half-brother. For over 20 years, he had lived off his family, with zero real ability or talent. Now a capable illegitimate son had shown up to compete for the family inheritance, and Victor no longer had time to bother with anyone else. Later, feeling completely cornered, he went back to his old tricks and hired someone to commit murder. This time, the evidence was conclusive. Victor was done for. He was never going to get back up again. After Vincent recovered, he went back home with me to visit my family. My dad had initially been against our marriage, but after hearing how Vincent had shielded me during the crash, he had no more complaints, though that didn't stop him from putting on his father-in-law act. "If it weren't for the fact that you've had a crush on my daughter for years and even saved her life, I wouldn't have agreed to this marriage." "But now, Dad," I quickly interrupted him, flustered. "Why say all that?" But it was too late. Vincent had heard everything, though he didn't comment on it at the time. Later, on the way home, he asked me, "You told your dad I had a crush on you?" Well, how did you know?" My heart practically exploded on the spot. Of course I couldn't tell him I made it up. "You said it yourself that night when you were drunk." Vincent frowned. "When was I drunk?" "When you took me to meet your friends." Vincent didn't press further. Instead, he started seriously trying to recall that night. By evening, he finally remembered. We did end up showering that time. Chapter 15. Vincent and I have been married for half a year now. Half a year later, we held our wedding ceremony. It was grand. Everyone said I'd married up. I knew Vincent was impressive, but I didn't want to be hidden under his wings, so I worked hard to build my own market. After 2 or 3 years, the company's board of directors no longer held any prejudice against me. I became one of the pillars of the company. After marrying Vincent, I figured I probably liked him, but Vincent was too shy to admit he liked me, and I was too embarrassed to say it too. Vincent and I had grown quite close, but compared to typical couples or married partners, something still felt missing. Vincent probably didn't feel that way, because he was just too good at hiding his feelings. Sometimes I had to pick up on the tiniest details to figure out what he was really thinking. Like the drawings I made for him, they'd always disappear the next day. Don't ask. If you did, the answer would just be, Vincent hid them. And the hiding place? The first one that came to my mind was the so-called treasure room he showed me the first time he brought me to this house. One morning, when Vincent had already left early for work, on a whim, I opened that room. There were no treasures inside, just paintings, lots of them, but most of them were old. I wasn't unfamiliar with those paintings, because I'd once talked to Vincent about them. Those artworks that had been sold at high prices during charity auctions. Turned out, Vincent was the one who bought them. From high school, through college, I seemed to have uncovered something huge. Vincent's longtime secret crush on me was real. After discovering Vincent's little secret, I couldn't help myself. That very night, I started teasing him relentlessly. "So you really did have a crush on me? When did it start?" "Gosh, I thought President Han was all high and mighty. Turns out you were full of little secrets." and too scared to let anyone know. Vincent's ears flushed bright red. He clenched his fists, trying to stay composed. Elise, you can't do this. Do what? I stared straight into his eyes. Vincent, I already found out. Why won't you just admit it? Vincent's eyelashes fluttered slightly, avoiding my gaze. All right. Considering he's had a crush on me for so many years, I'll say it first. I leaned in and kissed his lips. I love you, Vincent. Vincent's extra story. I woke up from a dream, again. A tingling numbness spread through my arm, and I saw Elise lying next to me. This wasn't a dream. It was real. I had married Elise. No one knew that I'd liked her for so many years. Since high school. Back then, she was studying fine arts. She often appeared in the school's botanical garden, sketching from life, with a drawing board on her back, wearing a white school uniform skirt. She looked breathtaking. Just to catch a glimpse of her, I'd go to the piano room next door every day after class. She had just started 10th grade then, and already had her sights set on an art university. It was an arts college. I could have gotten in too, but my family wanted me to study finance and management. While I was torn between both paths, something happened at home. My father died in a car accident on the spot. Our company was suddenly left leaderless. I was forced to drop out of school and step into the company. Before I left school, I went to the piano room one last time. Through the window of the art studio next door, I saw Elise sitting there alone, painting. Hey, classmate, I'm performing a piece at the New Year's gala. Could you give it a listen? That was the first time I gathered the courage to talk to her. Using the excuse of the performance, I played Claire de Lune for her. Elise didn't know what the piece really meant. She just smiled and said, "It's beautiful. I think it's great. Good luck." She even said I could tell her once the program list came out, so she could cheer for me in advance. But really, I only ever intended to play that piece for her. Just that once. After my father passed, many people began circling like vultures. No one pitied the grieving widow and her child. On the contrary, we were targeted because of our wealth. At 17, I stepped in to run the company. No one believed in me. They mocked me, belittled me, insulted me, told me to sell the company. I still remember the time I downed 3 bottles of Baijiu just to land a deal. I remember the date well. It was the day Elise's year took their college entrance exams. I lay in a hospital bed watching the news, and saw Elise being interviewed. The reporter asked her if she thought she could get into her dream school. Elise nodded, and she did get in. I actually went to visit her college once. It was stunning. Every corner looked like something straight out of a painting. When Elise was a freshman, she went viral for a photo of her painting by the lakeside. Many people chased after her. I was relieved she hadn't started dating anyone, and at the same time, I regretted that I didn't know what kind of identity I could use to approach her. I never went to college, and I was carrying the burden of a company everyone thought was doomed. That stage of life was harsh, meaningless. But whenever I saw Elise, it felt like I had a reason to keep going again. By her sophomore year, the company had started to turn around. A comeback. I bought the paintings Elise had donated for charity auctions. It was the only way I could get close to her. When Elise Liu reached her senior year, trouble hit the Liu family. She gave up the art she'd studied for so many years, and went straight into the company, just like I did. Back then, I watched her stumble her way forward, to better take over the company and win the board's support. She even agreed to a political marriage. I thought my chance had finally come, but she chose Victor. So, what did he have that I didn't? Even though I was bitter, I never thought about forcing Elise. I just couldn't stand Victor. I never imagined Victor would go public with his so-called true love on the day he and Elise registered their marriage. When Elise came to me, I was shocked. When she said she wanted to marry me, I was even more shocked. I should have said yes right away. Why did I insist on her scoring those last 3 goals? And when I saw she couldn't make the last one and was about to give up, I couldn't take it anymore. "I'll teach you." That goal had to go in for me. Later, Elise found out my secret, a crush that had lasted nearly a decade. Quiet, timid. Once, I could only confess my love silently, in the still of nights when she was sound asleep and unaware. Now, that love finally saw the light of day. and was returned with warmth and devotion.